Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this thought-evoking session on OTT. Let me start by welcoming my fellow panelists, some of whom would finally, land in Delhi today because of the sunny weather. Otherwise, as we all know, since the last 2-3 days, there have been challenges. So, thank you so much for everyone to join. And before we start, let me spend just 2 minutes introducing our fellow panelists who have a huge experience and knowledge on the areas that we are talking at. I think it'll be a wonderful session once we start. So I'll start on my far right is Ms. Amrita Bhattacharya, who's head of NXTPLAY. Amrita leads NXTPLAY, the premium OTT aggregator platform at Next Digital, and is a sales and marketing veteran with over 25 years of experience across blue chip brands like Citibank, Taj, Airtel, and a lot more. She has been at center of driving growth for NXTPLAY and drive productions innovations along the way. Welcome, Amrita. Next to Amrita is Ms. Asha Kulkarni, Vice President Partnerships and Ecosystems, Z Entertainment Enterprises. Asha has over 20 years of experience in the industry, out of which last 12 plus years have been working only on new age media segment, OTT and D2C. She has deep insights into the market and understands the dynamics, challenges, opportunities in this market. She was instrumental in building a business case for investments and ensuring that these are built as differentiators. She has managed customers in India, Southeast Asia, EMEA, and Europe, and has led big RFP campaigns. Welcome once again, Asha. To my immediate right is Mr. Anil Dua, Head of Subscriptions and User Growth, OTT Play and ST Media. Anil has over 20 years of experience leading major national and international companies like Usha, Philips, Hindustan Times. He currently works as a Chief Revenue Officer, Digital and Print Business of Hindustan Times, where he orchestrates several high-growth strategies and business ventures to elevate the brand preference of Hindustan Times and drive revenue growth. Welcome, Anil, once again. On my immediate left is Mr. Aakash Gehlot, Director and VP IoT, Automations and Cloud Solutions for Mobiloitte. Aakash is a technology enthusiast in providing digital transformation, IoT, IIoT, AI, ML solutions, and integrated with blockchain and metaverse. He has over 29 years of experience, and he's an experienced engineer, primarily working in industrial automation and system engineering for advanced surface treatment technologies, machine manufacturing, environment, dust, air pollution control, agro, food process, heavy engineering, infrastructure projects, and mining, etc. So that's a lot. So welcome, Aakash, once again. And to my far left is Mr. Rahul Nehra, MD Jadooz. In a career spanning of 25 years, Rahul has led blue chip technology and satellite companies like Detto, Hughes, Latence, XSET nationally and internationally. He was also founder of Aarti TV and Picture Time and is now founder MD of Jadooz. He is also founder and Secretary General of SCTE, International Society for Broadband Professionals. Welcome again, Rahul. So with that eminent and very good panelist, without any further ado, let me start. So today we'll be talking about what has taken entire country or world, I would say, by storm, called over the top, the OTT media. And I think we all have seen the OTT 1.0 already kind of passing away, and OTT 2, which is the next generation or next level of entertainment and information that is available to everybody, and specifically, as it was mentioned in the introduction, that it is going far and above into the hinterlands of the country as well as to the elite of the elitist. So on that, let me just start with giving a brief on what OTT's journey has been and what let's have a sneak peek onto what lies in the future. So as a first dependent Indian OTT platform, that was Bigflix. It was launched by Reliance Entertainment Group in 2008. In 2010, DigiVibe launched India's first OTT mobile app called NextGTV, which provided access to both live TV and on-demand content. NextGTV was the first app to live stream Indian Premier League matches on smartphones and did so during 2013 and 2014 IPL matches. The live stream of IPL since 15 has played an important role in the growth of another OTT platform, which is Hotstar, which we now know as Disney Plus Hotstar, which is taken over by Disney. OTT also gained significant momentum in India when both Ditto TV, that is Z, and Sony Live were launched in India market around 2013, which is almost 10 years ago. Apart from that, there are so many of other media channels such as Star, Sony, Viacom, Z, etc., which have given OTT a huge boom, and the viewership almost went over 10x during the COVID times. Since we all know COVID has changed so many facets of life, including how we look at entertainment and information. And during this time is when OTT showed its real colors and went down to each and every household and each and every device. If we talk about some numbers that we have today, there are currently over 47 providers of the OTT media services in India itself, with over 150 million subscribers. In the fiscal year 2018, the OTT market in India was worth 2,150 crores and is predicted to be worth whopping $15 billion, which is over 127,000 crores by 2030. Now, with the rise of this digital world, OTT platforms are becoming more popular, and conventional theaters and cineplexes somewhat are taking back seat, but still not going out as of now. But having said that, let's see, and we will hear during this session how OTT is making a difference and how it is changing the landscape of overall viewing experience, screening experience, streaming experience, and the sharing of information and entertainment. And and one of the key trends, or one of the key factors that has driven this OTT boom or OTT revolution has been that it has personalized the content that is being streamed or that is being shared across the platforms as per the viewer category and as per the regional content or regional geographies. In fact, one of the studies in regional OTT consumptions, it says that one of the studies says that regional OTT consumption would surpass Hindi or English consumption by 2025 itself. That's next year. So that is how the OTT content is being customized for regional and vernacular audience. And at this point, let me invite Asha to share her views on the growth frontiers and how OTT is taking over, with special focus on mini metros or small towns, and how service providers are penetrating these geographies and taking it over. Asha, please.
Sure. Am I audible? Thank you. It's an interesting question. Mini metro and the small town is the next big focus segment for us. So let me just give you a small statistics. Last year, in 2023, OTT segment grew 13% compared to 2021 to 2022, where we grew 20%, given the pandemic. But last year was 13%. What is the focus now? The total audience was 481 million subscribers in India, and the penetration was 34%. Out of that, 23% was the rural penetration. So the next biggest boom, what we expect being in the content industry, is going to be small towns, mini metros, thanks to data reach and the digital expansion which has been happening in the industry. So that is where we see the regional content, regional focused. India has a diversified content genres, and we have lot of storytelling, content in India. So it should reach each and every state, village, and the metro cities, so that we can expand. That is the biggest area for all of us to consume our content and tell the stories of our Indian content and take it further. So that's what we as a content creators focusing at this point in time, generating more niche content, segment to these regional sectors, and providing it to the data audience who are consuming through advertisement media or subscription media, different monetization method. So that's been our focus, and that's how we are taking it forward.
I completely agree. India has been a country of Pied Pipers, snake charmers, and storytellers. So from that perspective, definitely we need to look at it. But just to follow up, what change have you seen, or what have had you to do it differently to cater to, let's say, the initial audience of OTT, if I may say so, which was more of metros and urban area, as compared to what is happening now, where the contents are being specifically curated for the regional audience, or for the hinterland audience, or for the audience who have a very limited time and very limited means of getting all this information and entertainment.
So earlier when, as you mentioned, so OTT 1.20 was the start of the India's digital journey. So we grew very fast. So it spread into across the metro cities, like Hotstars of the world came in, Z5. Ditto was the first OTT platform to come into the industry. Being a media shy company, we remained in the realm of being there. But yes, it was a 2G era, data was very expensive. So now the data becoming cheap and it's reaching every corner of India. So it is giving us a greater segment reach. That's thanks to telcos and all the operators who are working behind this, and thanks to our government who are making big progress towards reaching each and every corner. So hence we have decided that that is where we have to give the content. So the kind of content what our regional teams are looking into, regional content like Z Kannada, Z Telugu, or you can talk about any of the Z Bengali. So we see lot of those content which is consumed today, and we have 35% of women segment watching at our platform. So that's our biggest portfolio what we see, and this is the biggest focus area for us to give more content for this segment, and that's where we are focusing as a core focus segment for us in the regional areas. So that's the change what we have seen, and we are also creating lot of short form contents which are very quick and you can watch and you can engage the audience back to back. So that's been the differentiator what we have created.
So patient levels have gone down, so short form content is definitely the next one. Let be it cricket from Test match to T20, or from on the OTT platform, from a 3.5 hour movie of Mughal Azam to a 15-minute short movie, which win accolades. So thank you so much for that, Asha. Really helpful. But before we move forward, so we last 5-7 minutes I just spoke about the growth story. Asha mentioned how the landscape has changed in terms of making it better, bigger, and more accessible. But at the initial stage itself, I would want to get the cat out of the bag and just see that it's not all about just being hunky dory or being very, very good. I'm sure there have been challenges. There have been issues, or there have been roadblocks which all of our service providers and content creators and OTT platforms had to face. And on that, I would request Amrita to share her views on what have been some of the key challenges, how the strategies on, let's say, sales or marketing or outreach have changed over years, and what are we doing to overcome these challenges from, let's say, OTT 1.2 to OTT 2.0.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. So basically what we have seen is that the consumption of content was a challenge earlier, because like Asha said that the data cost was high, but we have somehow overcome that, because now with the penetration of data everywhere, OTT consumption has definitely seen a sizable shift. And but however, we still face challenges in terms of operations, especially I'm from Next Digital, which is primarily a cable TV, historically a cable TV organization, and the mindset is very different. The consumption of OTT, to go and sell OTT is something that we are facing even today, because our cable operators think that it's a challenge for them, it's a direct competition for them. So trying to change that mindset and penetrating is a task in hand. But yes, let me tell you that we are kind of coming up with various offers, etc., which are going to help in the penetration. Other challenges which I have seen is that reaching out with the content, in terms of promotion, in terms of segmented offerings, that is something that we need to really work upon. I mean, like Asha again said, that, there is regionalization of the content. There's just not regionalization of the content. We're also getting a lot of content from our countries, different countries of the world. We have a lot of Korean content, Turkish content, which we are utilizing. We are dubbing them in our regional languages and offering to our customers. But at times the challenge is that we don't really know how to reach out. That whole segmentation thing is difficult, and especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities. There's this whole mindset, like I said, which needs to be, worked upon. Apart from this, we also see the whole pricing war which is going on currently, which I may say in terms of, there is no standardization. So I think going forward, we already have regulations coming in, and I'm sure there's going to be a standardization of pricing which will also happen, which will help us to consolidate this in this space, I would say. Because what is happening is, and I've seen this in telecom also, where there was too much of pricing war which was going on. So I think these things, if we take care, definitely OTT is the way forward. I mean, I'm not saying that there will be no other form of, IPTV coming in, OTT. These are our future, Nitin.
Thanks, Amrita. Yes, and I completely agree. And in fact, that is my thought process as well, that, the telco boom, or the way telecom went on over from a decade and a half, from, let's say, starting early 2000s, the same way I think the OTT is moving on. And when you talk about challenges, so I'll not let that chain of thought break, and let's talk about challenges in the areas of technology as well as regulatory compliances that we have had on the OTT front. So I'll request Aakash to just share some highlights on what have been key technology challenges, or the bottlenecks or roadblocks that we have faced in this journey over the last decade, let's say. And also, what are our key opportunities, or what are the key changes that we are looking at, or that we are foreseeing in this space for OTT perspective? Please, sure.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. That's the right point. First is that we are now entering into OTT 2.2, and that is completely a bigger arena related to the OTT 1. It is becoming interactive. It is becoming more user-friendly. And as like Asha said, exploring the market, the outreach has grown up. The marketing expectations has gone up. Regional contents have come up. So all these factors have added into the technology developments of the OTT 2.0 requirement. Like, one is the amount of the data management has increased. You have to face challenges not only of the data but the content delivery networking protocols. You have to see how it is, you have to work on bitrate, reducing the latency time, diverging the content, and then like making it interactive. Like what is the next scenario is that how you can have a user customer experience increase with OTT 2.0. So that means you have a facility, and you may be seeing some of the OTT channels have started adopting 2.0. You have your preference criteria over the selection, what to watch. You may be asked to get into polls, interacted into live comments. How you make it users more involved into it. And with that, all the things come, like the devices used for this, the data networking used for this, the cloud used for this, and technologies like artificial intelligence has played a role into it to gain into customer experience, increase the viewability, increasing the marketing or outreach of the OTT 2.0 platform. So these are all sectors that are coming into the as far as the technology development and innovations in the field that matches with the expectations as well as the needs of OTT 2.2. So
you're very right, and in fact, we'll just come back to that in a second. But as I see, machine learning as a technology has been playing a huge role on OTT, also specifically in the areas of customizing the user experience, curating the content as per what your preferences are. But before that, let me go back to Anil and request him to share some insights on the regulatory compliances. So as I was saying earlier, there have been this, I personally feel, and maybe there can be change of opinion, but this OTT entire cycle is very similar to the telecom cycle that we had. And we all are very well aware the kind of regulatory challenges and the compliances issues and the bottleneck and all those things that came into play in the initial phase, and now it has kind of sorted out a little bit, I hope. But from OTT perspective, what do you see, or what has been your experience in terms of what all regulatory challenges that have been faced in last 1 decade, and what is the future looking like?
Sure. I think first of all, just to get the data right, if you look at internet penetration today, it has crossed about 850 million in India. Even the rural penetration has grown by 50% has got to about 50% last year. Asha and Amrita talked about the astonishing growth that OTT is getting on back of this entire internet boom that we have seen in the country, and therefore there's no doubt that OTT is set to witness a very, very strong growth, right? However, I'll just take a cue from the earlier panel, and Mr. Mohindra was very rightly talking about let the companies grow the industry, and you should look at it more from the government should look at it more from the strategic perspective. And I think time has come for government to look at that seriously, because any industry which is fast growing will have possibilities of leakages, and therefore important for government to kind of step in and put at least the broad guardrails in place. So I would look at regulations broadly in the 4 buckets. The first bucket is purely around the content, right? The content is the most important part of the OTT boom. So on the content side, I think we would now need very clear OTT specific guidelines. We want to eliminate, the whole noise around the hate and the offensive kind of content, so that organizations like all of us can focus purely on growing the industry, because that's what I think we should try to leverage. The second one is around data, right? So data privacy, cyber security measures will play a very important role, and therefore I think time for government to kind of intervene and put clear guidelines around that. The third one is around the channel, right? So we need to have guidelines which are again not very clear around net neutrality, because you can't be favoring one telco against the other, and so on and so forth. So I think those guidelines need to come in. And lastly, I think for the consumer, because we talked about the numbers of consumers that are going in OTT, I think it's time that we start looking at a strong complaint redressal system. The data piracies, some of those guidelines need to come in place. So I think these are the broad 4 buckets. But again, in summary, look at it more from strategic perspective to ensure that the broad guidelines are put in place. But we should continue to take benefit from the momentum that this industry has gained over the past 5 years or so. Yeah.
Awesome. I think I hope there would have been somebody from one of the government bodies to discuss this further on the regulatory compliance. but only from overall, let's say, citizens' perspective, or if I would be looking at it from compliances, very first is that how is the privacy part taken care of? How is it, because these days, be it an OTT platform or be it a social media platform or any other platform, all the citizen or the user details are being captured. And this OTT platform is even goes a step further, where 24/7 it is capturing what kind of content am I looking at, what are my preferences, and it tells me a lot about my entire demography, my way share that. So from that perspective, are there any specific guidelines in place? One, if not, what is there an view available from Government of India to look at it specifically, as you mentioned, on the OTT front, very, very specifically for OTT users as well as for the service providers?
I think that's a great question, Nitin, and I must say there's a positive side to it also. And let me talk about the work that we do currently. I represent OTTPLAY, which is a part of HT Media. We are not only an aggregator of OTTs, we are also a recommendation engine. So if you use OTTPLAY, sorry for being a brand ambassador of the of the brand and the product here, but if you use OTTPLAY and you watch our content, next time when you come onto our platform, you'll be recommended similar kind of content that you can see. So there's a positive side.
So that's what I was talking about to Aakash also, about the machine learning part and bringing in my preferences are being taken care of. But at the same time, my privacy is being compromised, if I may say so. And to ensure that we give that confidence to the users and public at large, what is it that some of the organizations are doing about it? One. And second, is there a regulatory guideline by the Government of India in that particular area?
So the regulatory guidelines, as I said, right now are kind of loosely established, but there's a lot of work that's happening around it. I think that is going to get firmed up as we go along. But there's a huge responsibility that lies with the OTT platforms and organizations like ours, because basis one phone number that we capture of a customer, you can actually get everything. So I think this is responsibility both sides. Someone at the government level can always put some guardrails in place, but finally it is up to the end. And I think going forward, the success of OTT platforms will also depend a lot on how they use this customer data in the right way. Yeah. And on a lighter side, on the right hand side, I have one of our premium OTT content platforms, Z, who we take the content from. On the extreme right, I have my good friend Amrita, who is our customer. So I should actually be sandwiched between the two of them, but I have the privilege of kind of looking at it from both sides. And just to come back to the question that you asked, yes, there's work happening around it, and you will see a lot of work, lot of guidelines around data privacy that are going to come in play.
Should I feel secure that my data is not going anywhere?
Sorry?
Should I feel secure that my data is not going anywhere?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's a lot of work actually which is going on, Nitin,
Please.
because in terms of guidelines and try coming in, there has to be a guideline, because data is going to get exposed. Our privacy is, it's going to get things. So definitely there's a lot of work which is currently going on, and we are, like I said, there's going to be standardization, there's going to be regulation. This whole OTT space is, the way it's booming, obviously there's going to be a lot of things happening in the next few months or maybe a year. And the way we are using content, trying to understand what a customer wants, how do we know? It's basically that phone number, like Anil said, right? But any service, if we think of why only OTT, any service provider, how are they giving us that service? Through our mobile number. So it's the same thing, right? So like we do not miss, we trust them when we are taking the service. So I would expect that, our users will also have that similar trust and faith in us that we're not going to misutilize what is available to us.
On a lighter note, Amrita, it's less about trust, but more about moving forward. As they, in the financial world, they say that if everybody starts leading the loan document in totality, there will be no loans, anybody will be
Correct.
taking.
Agree.
So,
Very true. Yeah.
So we, and I'm talking about as a end user, general citizen, that if I don't trust, I won't be able to watch any content.
True.
But so on a serious note, so we've heard about the regulatory compliances, we heard about how we are customizing the content. But at the end of the day, I think from the industry perspective, if we see, this all boils down to numbers. It all boils down to figures and what kind of revenues there have been, what kind of market it has been in last decade and a half, how the numbers have drastically changed, and in what direction. So for that, let me call upon Rahul on sharing his views on some of the, how the revenue estimates have changed over last decade and a half, and what are we looking forward to in future on the online streaming space. Rahul, please.
Thanks for the question. I may be allowed to answer it a bit differently.
All yours.
Given the fact that I may have the highest number of gray hair in the panel, fundamentally, we are talking of only two things. One is the content and the second is the screen. Everything else that we talk of is a subset of what content is created, who consumes it, at what cost.
Exactly.
The only change which has happened is, apart from others, we have one more screen, which is the mobile screen. If you go 25 years back, you had TV, analog TV, then you had digital TV. OTT is also over-the-top television. In between, you had mobile coming in with DVB-H and DVB-T, that was also mobile TV. So the end objective is to somehow reach that screen. I often classify these screens as small, which is the mobile, big, which is the television, then the theater. We have a new screen, which is the virtual screen, which will kick in sooner or later, which is the VR play. And then you have the real world, which is events. Content is no different from food. I have coffee at the house. Going by the logic that I can make coffee at my house, I should not be having coffee anywhere else. Because someone in the house can make coffee which is as good as what they serve at Starbucks. But the coffee journey also is the house, the next door cafe, to the Starbucks, to even a fine dining restaurant which serves good cow. Now, coming to the monetization part, my innate belief is that as AI gets into the groove in three things. First is understanding what content works better. Could take 6 months, could take a year, could take 2 years, but slowly AI will be able to help refine and define and aid and abet content making. AI will again become so granular that it will be able to help the advertisers define what kind of advertising content to whom. And the third part is, as you gather data, AI will again help define which consumer needs which ad and what content, and influence his mind, overtly and covertly both. And when this process ends of AI embracing content, advertising, and the subscriber mind, that is the time we'll see a quantum shift in the revenues. Not only in OTT, not only in television, but also in the space where we are theatrical.
Yeah, sorry to interject, but isn't that movement, if I would say, or the paradigm shift already happening?
It
The
started.
machine learning AI is already in place. Whenever I watch any content on OTT, the ads that I get in between are very, at times shockingly, customized to my whatever other things I've been doing. The content, as Anil mentioned, the suggestions that we get are based on the machine learning or the my viewing pattern or history. So this shift has already started, right?
So I absolutely agree. This shift has started, but I would still say it's in a stage of infancy because the guy who's creating the content, just to give you a case example, Bombay never adopted VFX for a long time.
True.
South adopted. They create better content today because they adopted something earlier on. So the content creator, the script writer, the director, could be any form of content, has to be able to embrace to a certain extent what AI is throwing out. It could even mean educating himself on AI, how it happens. Content is nothing without some money from advertising and the subscribers. So yes, the subscriber play is probably more evolved, but the advertising play in terms of content creation still lags behind, and the subscriber play will continue to be work in progress because as broadband goes from place A to place B, only then you come to know your user better. I dare say that it takes about a year of data about a person to be able, for AI to be able to be effective. So yes, it started, and with the whole world putting money behind AI, we will see a shift. We'll see better content. We'll see a much higher revenue return. And I think I'll leave this point at that.
So coming back to more of the commercial aspect of it, I would want to have your views on two specific areas. One, what is the kind of commercial numbers we are looking at, both from the perspective of investments being done in this space, as well as the revenues that, as I said, 115 billion is the projection that is there for India for 2030. But at the same time, what is it that we're looking at immediately? And second part to the information that I would want to have is that how much cost is optimal cost for let's say an OTT subscription? Because again, I will keep going back to it. If you see in late 90s, 98, 99 time frame or 2001 time frame, there was an charge of 16 rupees per minute for an outgoing call and 8 rupees per minute for incoming. And in 2016, thanks to Mr. Ambani, all of this is free of cost. There's no charges at all. But still, the money is being made on by all telco operators. So what is that similar numbers that we are looking at, or what is the optimal cost that I pay for content? Because if you talk about the hinterland or the rural areas, paying for a content is still a bit of a challenge.
Okay, so statistically, 5 to 10% of your income constitutes the entertainment wallet of a family.
Okay.
So this is one determinator. The wallet, the second determinator which kicks in is the number of options available to spend this wallet. We have a cinema hall in a place called Nichlol, Maharajganj. Except the cinema hall, there is no other avenue for consuming entertainment. So there is television, OTT, a bit of it, and there is cinema. There's no cafe, there's nothing. I'm able to sell a ticket there for a movie like Animal for 250 rupees, which goes contrary to the hypothesis I set my company on, where this consumer will not spend more than 75 rupees. So it's slightly early to look at the numbers, as I say, because India is a large country. There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6, tier 7. Tier 7 is an area having a population of 50,000 with an average income of 35,000 a month. This 35,000 guy is able to buy a ticket for 250 rupees, but someone in the town doesn't buy. But having said that, people are willing to spend across the emerging markets anywhere between 500 rupees to 1500 rupees on entertainment. Out of this, 75% would go to digital television and OTT, and 25% comes to cinema. This is not changing also because YouTube has become a free TV content entertainment space. तो उसको फ्री में कुछ एंटरटेनमेंट ऑलरेडी मिल रहा है, तो he is getting his free water, and whatever he wants to spend, which continues to be 5 to 10%, he spends between these three. Broadband right now, if I'll be honest, tier 4, tier 5 is confused कि मैं Amazon खरीदूं, Netflix खरीदूं. When it adds up to 1,000, he doesn't buy.
Very true.
So please don't ask me for a cumulative number, because it's an industry which is work in progress. We don't harbor this guess for ourselves, but what we know is everything is growing. Good content sells like anything. People had written the obituary of cinema halls, but the last 6 months have been probably the best in a decade. And I didn't like any of these movies, but the consumer they liked Animal, they liked Gadar, they liked every film. So it's good times for all of us, provided the content is good and provided you are able to reach. One more thing, customers also smart enough. The rural town customer, अगर Gangs of Waisepur किसी भी प्लेटफॉर्म पे आ रही है, वो ढूंढ लेता है, और उसको अच्छा है तो वो खरीद भी लेता है, चाहे शेयर करके 4 मिलके खरीदे, 3 मिलके खरीदे. So numbers, we are looking at double-digit growth for all the segments. No, OTT and cinemas, DTH has plateaued, cable is.
Yeah, that's all.
But cumulatively, the industry should be a double-digit growth at least for the next 5 years, if not more.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sorry, I couldn't give you the numbers, but
No, perfectly fine. I think that is what the purpose was, not purpose of numbers, but to understand where we are going. So thanks for that input. And before we move on to on a lighter side, not just that it has given a lot of avenues for viewers, but also to a lot of artists who maybe did not make it onto the big screen, what we used to call earlier, but now are giving fantabulous content to each and every citizens on OTTs.
so I'll just take a second here. Interesting you say that. People are seeing stand-up comedians on the small screen and they call us, can you get this guy to perform live in the cinema halls?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
There are people who have wanted XYZ singers to come and perform in the cinema halls, whom they had seen on some OTT platform.
True, very true. That's what I said. So things, the perspectives of from every aspect are changing.
Last but not the least, when the India-Pakistan match happened, every single cinema hall of ours, we are a small chain, just about 15-20 screens, people were calling and saying, "Aap cinema hall mein kyun nahi dikha rahe?" So the inevitability of watching sports at the right price will end up here also.
True, true.
And that's also the reason why I say over the next 3 years, it's good time for everyone. Regulations will evolve, prices. Two things can stunt. One is legal, and the second is monopoly.
So on that thought, I'll just really hold that thought and we'll come back to it very soon. But last thing before we take up a very unconventional topic is come back to Aakash on what I was saying earlier. And since we have been talking about the technology part of OTT, so what is it that you think are, let's say, two technologies or two factors, top two, that would play a vital role in OTT growth?
Well, Nitin, emerging technologies are very much coming up into almost all arenas, and now is a phase of a combination of technologies. Like if I talk about OTT 2.0, it is we have discussed few concerns here, like security you discussed as a main concern, and blockchain is coming up as a solution. While you handle the large number of the data of the cloud with any networking scenario and the protocols you have, if integrating it with the blockchain security, then Web3 is coming up, making a very personalized scenario of a content. That is an upcoming technology. Having OTT 2.0 being interactive and communicating with the customer experience is adding on to metaverse and gaming applications served through OTT platforms, which give additional scenarios and the use cases for the users to keep engaged on the platform. So these are the things that may come up, and I'll also address two short points that we discussed during the scenario. Is one of the regulations, and I'll give two examples, like one a layman thinking kind of example and one a very high-tech kind of example. A few months back I was in a law university where we were discussing the law and the regulation use cases on the technologies coming up and how. And this thing that the artificial intelligence and the machine learning being tracking users' data over their viewing cycle and recommending them or similar kind of things. Like why about OTT? Even almost everyone uses Instagram today, and as you watch the reels, if you go to 3 or 4 or 5 reels you scroll, the next 15 you get of the same kind.
That's exactly what we were discussing, the machine learning already in play.
You don't realize that you are being followed, because and if you don't believe it, you choose a different topic, watch few reels of the different topic, and the next 15 follows on that. So you have to be very much regulated on the things, that how it has to be user friendly as well as have a security and privacy of the user content. These are the technologies. Blockchain can help here, and rest I talk about the interacting. And one thing, yes, layman, what I was telling about, that how to use machine learning into this. I just asked one of my friends casually that okay, artificial intelligence is doing a lot of more role, and how do you think it can help into the OTT scenario on the presentation? One line answer was, can you have a filter on abusive words? so how, if you have a machine learning on that, things are coming up. Maybe in future we'll have a lot more control on regulations, technologies, challenges, everything.
So that is what Anil and was also mentioning earlier, that, and Rahul was also saying that regulations are required and they are definitely coming in. And so before I wrap up the talk, I would want inputs from Anil, Asha and Amrita on. So we saw, if you remember, during the let's say mid 2000, from 2005 till 2014-15, we had over a dozen telecom operators in play from Etisalat to Telenor to MTS to Aircel and whatnot, and at least another dozen, waiting to enter Indian market. And at that time, prediction was that this will all get consolidated. And that is what has happened today. And if we look at it, we have just five major players, out of them two are government players, BSNL and MTNL. So I would want one by one, all three of you to share your inputs on how does it on this aspect of consolidation, how does it look like on the OTT side of it? So Amrita, you can start from you.
Yeah, I feel that consolidation is the way forward, but right now it is difficult to say because there are these telecom giants like a Jio or Airtel who are taken up the major chunk of the OTT space, right? But that does not mean that there aren't other players who will also not take the share. However, what I feel is way forward, obviously, if I talk about OTT as a platform, it is going to be kind of bundled. The way forward is like, especially, whether it's DTV, whether it's broadband or OTT, simple standalone OTT, the consolidation can only happen where the offering is a combo or a bundled offering, is what I feel.
Yeah, but we have seen that in DTH space. In OTT, I would say it has already started with Hotstar being taken over by Disney and then merging all the content under one platform. So from that perspective, are we looking at 3, 4 or 1 or 2 key players, let's say half a decade down the line, or do you think it's going to be a much widespread market wherein there will be bigger as well as smaller players coexisting?
See, if I go historically, then the consolidation of telecom took almost 10 years, 11 years, right? So to say that OTT consolidation will happen immediately, I don't think that is going to happen. It would take a couple of years with so many players actually coming up. Even now we see so many small players. Even tier 2, tier 3, there are players who are coming up with their own OTT platform, right? So, and of course the larger ones are there, but I don't think consolidation would happen immediately. Like Rahul said, that the next 2-3 years is going to be the golden years of OTT, or the boom, right? The growth is going to happen. So yeah, consolidation is the way forward for anything, because we cannot have so many mushrooming operators.
Sure, thanks. Asha, quickly.
So I agree with Amrita. There are two parts to it. Largely, traditionally in India, if you have seen, the telecom operator boom came in, then there was a consolidation boom happened. Similarly, India OTT story, there will be three type of players: telecom players, satellite players will continue to remain for another 10 years. They are not going to go anywhere. Then the OTT players, right? So which is the biggest boom which is happening. So which will happen to continue, because we have got number of OTT players developed in past 2 to 3 years. So they all want to gain, monetize, and they want to remain, and they want to see how this consolidation will happen, how they can sustain, how they can move forward, right? So as you also mentioned on the regulatory guidelines for OTT, yet to come in place, yet to have a data piracy, yet to have a monetization standards. So all of this will take some time. So all of these operators will co-work, we will remain together, and maybe 10-15 years down the line, there will be a consolidation strategy and the way forward we can see in this area. That's what we see.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah,
last thoughts.
I think it's at least half a decade away, right? The challenges that we face in the sector today are all leading to very, very high growth trajectory of the industry. Whether you look at content, Amrita talked about localized content. We started with national content we talked about international content being dubbed in various languages. Then we talked about regional. Now it is hyper local, right? So a person sitting in Guwahati wants to see Assamese content. A person sitting in Ludhiana wants to see Punjabi content, sitting in Azamgarh wants to see a Bhojpuri content. So I think right now that expansion phase is happening. The challenge around infra is getting sorted. The challenge around marketing and distribution of content to those kind of cities is getting sorted. In those cities and towns, you will also have very different payment options. You know, I mean, today in metro, it's highly digitized, but as you go into these kind of, and you know, Rahul talked about tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, up to tier 7, you'll have to find ways of getting to cash on delivery kind of options and so on. So all of these are leading to very, very high growth trajectory of OTT industry over the next 3 to 5 years for sure. Yes, and as every industry goes through, you know, rapid growth, then, you know, to some kind of a consolidation, I think it'll happen, but it'll happen at a later stage.
Sure, thank you so much. And you know, in paucity of time, I would say that if I have to summarize the discussion that we just had, I would bring it down to 3 points. The very first one is that, you know, to begin with, you know, paying for a content is still an alien concept in India. And obviously, if given the choice, I would want everything to be free of cost for me. So linear television has traditionally been quite low cost initially when it came out. Now the DTH is pretty low cost even if we speak. So there has to be, audience has to find a reason to pay for OTT subscriptions, and that all boils down to the content that we create and we beam. The second is the content itself. Traditionally, the paid content or the streaming that used to happen was catered for urban audience in metros. But now, as we just heard that this being taken to tier 2, tier 5, tier 7 cities, definitely this will be the this will be the elitist lens that continues to from where we look at into the OTT platform in terms of the creation of the content and the treatment that is given to the content, as we heard that the tone of it, the language being used, the words being used. So that will have to be very, very careful, and obviously the privacy part of it. And third, last but not least, my takeaway is that technology will be one of the biggest backbones and a huge player in terms of how we curate this content, how we deliver this content, and how do we cater to end user needs for a content or a OTT subscription. So OTT 2 is here. Let's hope for a bigger, better OTT, and as we spoke, let's have a lot more regulations in place and make this useful. And these are some of the questions that we can leave with. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for your time and your inputs. Thank you so much for our audience. If there are any questions, we can take a couple of them. Do we have time for that? One or two questions, if we can quickly take. I would request if you can share your credentials and then whom this question is for.
Myself, I'm Sai. I work for a company called Prodap Solutions, more of a TSP. But I'm very enthused about metaverse and the Web3 technology, and been researching about like how the OTTs have been using, trying to get onto the metaverse and all. Like especially when Aakash mentioned about metaverse and use of metaverse and blockchain, and now that we're talking about consolidation, do you think like the OTT players would leverage the metaverse to provide a consolidated platform where the user can customize the content and watch it in an immersive like setup, and probably like how would the OTT platforms are already taking steps, especially adapting to the metaverse and all upcoming technologies and all. Now that AI, anyways, like OTT players are using it, but I would be curious to know like how the OTTs platforms are getting on the metaverse, and how do you see the future coming into the metaverse?
Okay, I'll let Aakash answer that, but before we go there, what Rahul was also mentioning, the start has already happened. Metaverse is that third media, if I may say so, where all this is going to take place, or the third screen where all this is going to take place. And technologies like blockchain is already in play when it comes to consent management for sharing of content or sharing of my credentials, and some of the platforms are already doing it. Some platforms are going to do it. They have it in their roadmap. But I'll let Aakash share details on that, please.
Sai, that was a very nice question. Like Metaverse has been playing, or is most likely to play, a main role in all forms of the technology. It is coming up into the platforms, and of course it will be into OTT platform very soon. But about how it will be interacting, there is one video I tell to my team persons and most of the, to the students and the colleges I visit. I ask them to watch the video when Mark Zuckerberg launched Meta. And that is phenomenal about the Metaverse, like what the future may come, and how, like you asked, like how user will be able to control it through Metaverse. Well, that may come up, but before that, VR and AR will definitely be there, or using Oculus, you say, when user is into that 3D domain of the environment. Now, what happens is that you have 3D meetings, 3D site visits, and I will recommend you also, if I am sure you might have gone through that video also, how he explains that you have a community group meeting over Metaverse into a platform. So maybe OTT can be used for the shared watching of a content, for the shared activity of a gaming, or using the 3D environment of the likely developed scenario what you are going to watch on the Metaverse. And not only that, you have a same amount of feeling that is interlinked with the real-time scenario. Like maybe the group is at a distance place, but you experience the same kind of sound thing. So that is being how you can integrate Metaverse with other activities also to have a unanimous, or you can have a common kind of experience when you are into those 3D environments. Things are coming up and people are working in multiple directions at all platforms. How OTT adopt a few of them is maybe in next couple of years it will be a total game changer.
Hope that answers. Okay, if no other questions, okay, last question, quickly.
Hello, this is Imrana. I just had a small question. Are you happy with the draft regulations that have been put up for public comments on broadcasting bill that includes the online content?
Anil or Rahul, if you would want to take that.
Just to, is not much that can be divulged at this stage, but there is active work that's happening with the government, right, of the key companies within the industry. So that is work in progress right now. If your question is, are we happy? Of course, not, because that's why that discussion is happening. But I think it will evolve and we'll get to a better stage. You will see that happening in next few weeks, not months, and the revised guidelines will be coming in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Been a lovely audience. Thank you, panelists. Thanks for your time. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.